Good evening and welcome to Look North. Our top story tonight. A nurse is charged with terror offences after a bomb scare at a Yorkshire hospital. A charity says laws to protect the young victims of county lines drugs aren't working.
To see your child's face, twice the size of what it should be, no mother should see.
We ask what needs to be done to safeguard victims. Also tonight, the operational robots putting Bradford on the medical map. We meet the Sheffield Wednesday footballer carrying the baton in memory of both his granddads.
Yes everyone, we are the Reytons and we are the official UK #1 in the album chart this week with What's Rock and Roll. We'll be talking to you later on Look North.
And a quiet weekend to come, but a lot of cloud in the forecast. I'll be back later in the programme with all the details.
Good evening and thank you for joining us this Friday. A man has appeared in court in London on terror charges after a bomb scare at one of Yorkshire's biggest hospitals. The man was a student nurse at St James's Hospital, which was closed to visitors and cordoned off after what's been described as a viable homemade bomb and imitation gun were found. Well, Phil Bodmer is at the hospital with the latest for us now. Phil, what can you tell us?
Well, Amanda, 7 days ago, much of the hospital here, St James's in Leeds, was sealed off under a hefty police cordon. Emergency services had attended here en masse, police, fire and ambulance services, and even a bomb disposal unit from the Army at Catterick Garrison in North Yorkshire had been called in to examine a suspect device. Now, prosecutors allege that 27-year-old Mohammed Farouk from the Gipton area of Leeds had constructed what they describe as a viable bomb. It contained 13.7 kilos of homemade low explosive mixture and, they say, a length of pyrotechnic fuse. Now, prosecutors say Mr. Farouk also was in possession of an imitation firearm, namely a semi-automatic pistol, at the time of his arrest in the early hours of last Friday morning. They say he'd been due to begin a shift here working as a student nurse at the hospital. Mr. Farouk is alleged to have also undertaken reconnaissance at an RAF base, also in Yorkshire as well.
And what happened at Westminster Magistrates Court today?
Well, what happened in the hearing today at Westminster Magistrates, Mr. Farouk appeared via video link from a police station in West Yorkshire. He only spoke to confirm his name, his date of birth and his home address. He didn't enter any pleas to the charges. He faces charges of engaging in conduct in preparation of an act of terrorism, possessing an imitation firearm and possession of an explosive substance with intent to endanger life or cause serious injury. There was no application for bail and Mr. Farouk was remanded in custody ahead of another appearance, this time at the Old Bailey in London on Friday, February the 3rd. Amanda.
Phil, live in Leeds, thank you for bringing us up to date. Next tonight, laws to protect young people from being groomed and exploited by drug gangs are simply not working. That's according to a Yorkshire-based national charity. The so-called county lines gangs recruit children and use them to prepare and sell drugs. The government says laws are in place that offer protection, but PACE, a charity that supports parents, says they need strengthening. Gemma Dillon reports.
He was a happy child. He went into year 11 and knuckled down until lockdown came in March. And then my whole world fell apart.
This mum's world imploded when her son became involved in county lines drug gangs.
He was arrested, which is the first time that the police came to the home. Police actually gave the debt for him because they searched his bedroom. They arrested him out and about and take all the drugs off him. They then belong to this perpetrator and they need the money or the drugs back. He was beaten badly. He came home and hid himself away. And eventually he said, "This is what you get by owing money." To see your child's face, twice the size of what it should be, no mother should see.
And she's not alone. This mum's experience was similar.
It was very difficult to know where he was, keep tabs on him. The job I had, I used to go to bed early, and like I said, I had other children as well. And I actually thought, oh, well done, he's going to bed. You know, it was son at this age goes to bed so early. And it turned out that he was actually climbing out the windows on a night, and they had him selling crack and heroin.
Hundreds of children are thought to be victims of similar gangs right across Yorkshire, thousands more across the country. Gangs who ruthlessly exploit and control young people to carry drugs or carry out other crimes. Well, PACE is a national charity based in Leeds that supports parents whose children are being exploited. They don't think the laws to protect these young people are working and want them strengthening.
So currently we're seeing it tacked onto other laws, so drug laws, and the fact that the exploitation of a child may be an aggravating feature of those laws. What we need to see is that child criminal exploitation is made a law within itself.
Politicians seem to agree on firm action to tackle the drugs gangs, but not on the form that should take.
Labour's calling for a change in the law to outlaw child criminal exploitation, make it illegal for the gangs to operate in the way that they're doing, and then protect our young people.
We have got the Modern Slavery Act 2015 to prosecute people who are exploiting others, particularly children. Of course, we've also got the drugs legislation. Policing has been successful in dismantling, I think, 2,900 county lines over the last 3 years.
The mums I've spoken to have got their children out of the clutches of the gangs and are now rebuilding their lives. But for those with children still being exploited, it can be very bewildering and very frightening. Gemma Dillon, BBC Look North.
Yes, and distressing to hear, isn't it? Well, earlier I spoke to Anne Longfield, who is the former Children's Commissioner for England. She's currently the chair of the Commission on Young Lives that in November published a report called Hidden in Plain Sight, looking at the dangers young people face from county lines gangs. I started by asking her how bad the situation was.
Well, it is significant. We're talking potentially about 200,000 children who are involved in county lines, and those are children who can be in desperate state of peril. Their families are terrified about what's happening to them, and they are really at risk of huge violence and ruthless criminals. So the thing about it is it's happening in plain sight in many of our communities. Families don't know where to turn to, and children are left without the help they need to be able to protect them.
And as you described, the problem is significant. What can be done?
Well, this is something that government really needs to see as a national emergency. Of course, there are local agencies that can actually help this, but it needs that leadership, it needs that national plan. And we need to start getting tougher on the criminal gangs who are using children as cheap and useful commodities. We are making it too easy for them. We really do have to protect these children.
But what are the chances of these changes happening if our politicians can't agree on a way forward?
Well, they do have to see the urgency of this. It's some time ago now that David Cameron, when he was Prime Minister, looked at child sexual exploitation and put a plan in place, realising how important and what an emergency this was. We need to see this on the same scale. It needs that level of emergency, it needs that national scrutiny and that national determination to make sure our children are safe.
And how quickly can we see these changes taking place?
Well, if that was agreed, you could see them relatively swiftly. It could be a swift change. But if we don't do that, there's a generation of children here who are at huge potential harm. And we're just stacking up costs for the future. It will cost us billions, not only in their lives and their life chances, but also in the billions we'll need to pay for those crises, when it undoubtedly will happen.
And thank you very much. Yes, still much to be done. Well, Politics North has been investigating the impact of county lines gangs on families in Yorkshire. It has a special programme on Sunday morning, that's at 10 o'clock on BBC One with Tim Iredale. OK, you're watching Friday's Look North, still to come on tonight's programme. We look ahead to the weekend's FA Cup action as 3 of our teams hope to progress to the 5th round. for some news in brief. And police are investigating 2 shootings in Sheffield last night, which they say appear to be linked. First, at around 8 o'clock in the evening, they were called to a report of shots fired at a business, Sugar Express, on Firth Park Road. Then, around 13 minutes later, there were reports of shots fired at a car on Machin Bank in Netheredge. You can see the bullet holes in the windscreen there. No one was injured in the incidents. Rail passengers in our region are facing more disruption this weekend, with buses replacing some services. The section of the line between Leeds and Huddersfield will be closed tomorrow and Sunday as part of the multi-billion-pound TransPennine upgrade. There'll be another 9-day closure starting on the 4th of February. The upgrade work comes after train company TransPennine Express cancelled nearly half of its services last week. But Network Rail say the project will eventually deliver more reliable trains.
This is one part of the puzzle of the TransPennine route upgrade, and there will be multiple closures across the railway in the north of England to allow us to deliver these major benefits of the investment between Manchester and York. But it's short-term pain for a long-term gain, and again the main priority is to keep passengers moving, which we will do with the help of our train operator colleagues in the form of buses or diversions.
Next night, Bradford Royal Infirmary hopes to use robots to tackle waiting times and perform many more operations each year. It's just started using a machine that helps train surgeons in robotic techniques and is already finding they can perform procedures in less than half the time as they gain experience. Kathy Killick has been to see the robots in action, just to warn you there are scenes of surgery in her reports.
It's the first case of the day at Bradford Royal Infirmary. A cancer patient is having his bladder removed. The atmosphere is calm and purposeful as the staff bring on their big beast.
Yes, so straight on there now. Big towards me. Touch. That's it, lovely. Thank you.
Not a person, but a robot, with 4 arms loaded with tools to do the surgery. It's operated by a surgeon sitting at a console, looking for all the world like he's playing a video game.
Well, the technology is fantastic. You have a 3D view, magnification, and you have something called motion scaling. So even if I have a tremor, the robotic instruments stay remarkably still, and we're able to do much more precise work than we ever could have before.
Bradford's had robots for over a decade, but they've just acquired a dual console, which, just like a driving instructor's car, allows new surgeons to be trained in the control techniques.
As we do more of this, we get better at it, and that means that we can do more procedures on the same list in the same day. We've already, within the last week, we've gone from 1 procedure in the colorectal team to 2 procedures.
That's a doubling of productivity, which is very good news for waiting lists. But there are other benefits for patients too. His Honour Judge Ray Singh had robotic prostate surgery last year. He was extremely impressed.
I was off painkillers within 48 hours completely. And having been operated on Friday evening, I was discharged first thing Saturday morning, and I took the dog for a walk. It was remarkable.
These incredible machines will really put Bradford on the map, not only because of the extraordinarily precise surgery they can achieve, but also because of the future surgeons they can train. It means many more cases can be done each year. This setup already treats 300 urology patients every year. That's more than any other hospital in Yorkshire.
It is an incredible thing to witness, and our patient is already in recovery and doing well. It's a shining example of how innovation can help the NHS treat more patients better and faster. And it's even more comfortable for the surgeons too. Kathy Killick, BBC Look North, Bradford.
Wow, absolutely fascinating, isn't it? Now, Sheffield Wednesday midfielder Will Vauxhall has told Look North that he will be supporting the national Baton of Hope roadshow after losing both his granddads to suicide. The roadshow is being organised by former Look North presenter Mike McCarthy, whose son Ross died after a 10-year battle with depression. The Baton of Hope will be carried by families and friends bereaved by suicide in stages around the country. Our reporter Mark Ansell caught up with Mike and Will.
Yes, welcome to Hillsborough Stadium, and we're inside. We're in the changing room here. As you can see, the players' shirts are ready for the match on Saturday. Let me introduce you to Mike McCarthy. Now, Mike, you're organising the Baton of Hope. You lost your son 2 years ago, Ross, to suicide. Why are you doing the Baton of Hope?
Well, after we lost Ross, he left a farewell letter, and one of the things that he said in the letter was, please fight for mental health, the support is just not there. So I got together with a few other bereaved mums and dads and brothers, sisters, etc. And I got talking to one in particular, a great man called Steve Phillip, who lost his son Jordan. And we were talking about what we could do, how we could play our part to try and bring hope to people. And in a nutshell, that's kind of how the Baton of Hope was born.
Mike, thanks. One of the baton bearers is actually going to be none other than Will Vauxx, the Sheffield Wednesday midfielder. Will, you've got your shirt behind you there, ready for the match. Will, why are you getting on board with this? Why are you supporting the Baton of Hope?
I actually attended a talk club session with Mike.
This is when men share their experiences of mental health.
Yeah, and never spoke about this before. I actually lost both my granddads to suicide when I was 14 and 16, or maybe a bit younger. Mental health's a massive thing at the moment that we've neglected for so many years, and to have a personal side that, you know, my two granddads didn't talk about mental health. We weren't aware that they were struggling at all, both very much out of the blue. You know, I've got a son now, and for me, I want, you know, him to be aware of feelings and as he grows up, know that he can speak to people.
And what about the culture within the changing room in professional football? Do your colleagues, the players, talk about their mental health, or is it just sort of taboo?
No, it's definitely getting better. You know, it's a very macho environment in the dressing room. It's what makes us successful at times to have that edge. But I definitely feel over the course of my career, it's got better. You know, boys do speak about, you know, lads will say, I've lost my head today, which will basically mean, you know, I'm not in a good place, I'm struggling with not being selected, or, you know, things going on at home. So it's definitely coming on, but we've got a long way to go, I think.
And what's it like as a professional footballer when, you know, the away fans are jeering you, but actually sometimes the home fans too, getting on your back because perhaps you're not performing? Does that not affect your mental health?
Yeah, I like the away fans getting on me. No problem with that at all. I think that's part of the game, something we don't want to lose. I think, you know, if you can't take that on the pitch, a bit of stick from your opposition fans. I think, like you're touching on there, your home fans is not so nice. I think social media's given these people a platform that probably shouldn't be there to get personal and to say things that they perhaps shouldn't. Personally, I'm not on any social media anymore, but I know young players that are, and they are seeing these things, and there's only so long you can take people, you know, someone saying about your interviews every week, they're not good, they're not good, they're not good. Eventually you're going to start to maybe believe that or struggle with it. So it's something that I think needs addressing.
OK, Will, thank you very much indeed. Appreciate your honesty, and thank you, Mike, too. The Baton of Hope will be here in Sheffield on the 28th of June, and we'll be sure to be bringing our cameras to that.
Yes, it really is important to talk, and we will bring you the latest on that over in June. Now, sport and the FA Cup is back this weekend, offering 3 of our region's teams the chance of progression to the 5th round. But there's a problem for our 2 Uniteds. They're facing some rather tricky, unfamiliar opposition. Paul Ogden has been looking ahead for us.
Most of our football managers will tell us that any opponent is tricky, especially when it comes to the FA Cup. Take Sheffield Wednesday. Awkward to say the least in round 3 for Premier League Newcastle United, and the worldwide TV audience loved it. Wednesday's reward for toppling Newcastle, a home tie against a team they usually play in League One, Fleetwood. Easy by comparison, surely.
There's never a stop button or a pause button on us, because every single time we're training and playing, there's never anybody pulling up the handbrake here or anything like that. It's a cup match, and we've got to put all our energies and thoughts and focus into this game before looking anywhere else.
This FA Cup round, the headlines are likely to come from somewhere other than Hillsborough, although Sheffield United at Wrexham on Sunday afternoon and Leeds United at Accrington Stanley tomorrow lunchtime will be hoping to avoid becoming the weekend's big story, if they can. Those involved know exactly what to expect.
We always, in the US, would talk about the FA Cup, even when we were like 7. We are very aware of what the tournament means, right? What it holds in terms of the David versus Goliath and and how that can be a very inspiring narrative.
We'd love another game in the FA Cup after this one, but we have to get past Wrexham. But likewise, we know we've got another 18 league games, which are all vitally important. So whilst we're trying to win this, like I say, we're still preparing for the Rotherham game, which is next, and then some big ones after that.
We can't expect either Sheffield United or Leeds United to prioritise this weekend's FA Cup ties because both are so focused on Premier League status next season instead. But we know what the FA Cup TV schedulers are hoping for, because Sheffield Wednesday have delivered one giant killing for us in Yorkshire this month already. The draw for round 5 is on Monday evening at 7 o'clock. Paul Ogden, BBC Look North.
One of the goals of the FA Cup third round.
Yes, a busy weekend ahead. If you're a football fan, now finally take a look at these lads. We've been saying in the office what lovely guys they are. They've been really fantastic to talk to today, because finally tonight, champagne corks are popping in South Yorkshire. Indie rockers the Reytons have scored their first ever #1 album, no less, after weeks of campaigning and even opening up a pop-up shop in Meadowhall. It's a triumph for the 4 members and their fans, with a Brit Award, their next target, and I think they're going to do it. Tom Ingle met them this morning just after they'd found out, and just a heads up, there is some flashing imagery in the report.
1, 2, 3.
An overnight success after years of graft. The Reytons are all South Yorkshire, all real, and are breaking big time with no label.
Little Jimmy is a crafter, putting in a work on a side of a 9 to 5.
But they do have some rather nice bling.
Amazing, absolutely incredible. You know, we've worked all week, well, we've worked all live stream, but to say this week we have literally grafted as hard as we can, not just us, as family, as friends, everyone else in this room today and beyond, and the people all across the UK. I just can't be thankful enough. It's just been amazing.
Have I just heard you calling your mum?
That's the first person you ring when you get a #1, I believe. You're straight on phone to my mum, we've done it. I don't know, your mums are the first people to see kind of all the sacrifice it takes to kind of come this far. So yeah, first phone call to my mum.
If we could bottle it up and put a secret formula on it and label it and that, we'd sell it for millions. But we don't have a clue. We've got no clue how we've done it. It's just happened.
Not having a label behind you, that's astonishing, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we've not really had a big push from anyone, and we've done it all ourselves. We've made this shop ourselves. Everything that we've done in this campaign has been us, as friends, as family, as manager, Rach.
There's gonna be a whole lot of trouble when he makes it back, 'cause I don't think that he's gonna stop.
What's Rock and Roll is their second album. The first, Kids Off the Estate, and a smattering of EPs, has seen them playing sold-out gigs at the Lead Mill in Sheffield and across the UK. Later this year, they head to Australia. It was BBC Radio Sheffield's introducing programme which helped to spread the word.
Christian Carlisle at BBC Introducing Sheffield has been a big backer of the band throughout our career, and last night he was presenting our live stream live on Facebook as well. He was a good guy, Christian, and the folks down at the main show on Radio 1 as well.
So, deep breath, and then what next, do you think?
Brit Award.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. Okay. I was thinking about a lie down, but no, you've got that agenda sorted.
We are ready to go. That's next week, isn't it, Brit Award?
The thing is, we've all had on his phones, like literally for the last 3 years, the official charts #1 thing for Law of Attraction.
Yeah.
And we've said, you know what, we'll put that there, remind ourselves every day what we want to work towards, and today it's just become real, so we're going to change that for probably a Brit Award or, I don't know, just something else to aim for.
Once again, South Yorkshire has found a rich seam of musical talent. The Reytons hype train is leaving the station, bound for even bigger things. Tom Ingle, BBC Look North, Sheffield.
Yes, and I think they're going to be a huge success, and I think I need to update my music collection there, Keely. Crowded House, David Gray, bit of Rihanna, that's about as modern as I am in my car.
Well, we're wheels on the bus, so...
I've moved on from that.
Oh, right. Oh, good things come then, do they, in the next
Eventually, but let me tell you, have you got a CD player in your car? Or
no,
have you moved
thankfully
on?
not.
Right, see, I'm still playing CDs. That's how old I am and how old my car is. But anyway, moving on.
Moving on to the weather. We've had some nice quiet weather, actually, over the last 24 hours. And let me show you a few pictures that have come in. A very misty start to the day in some spots this morning. This picture was taken this morning at Yatesholme Reservoir, soon brightening though. And then the next picture, brighter skies, which developed across parts of North Yorkshire, some sunshine there. And the third picture shows that there was still quite a lot of cloud around into the afternoon. This is Scarborough this afternoon, sent in by Dave. You can keep your pictures coming in to us on the BBC Weather Watchers page, bbc.co.uk/Weather Watchers. You can tweet me at Keely Donovan, or I'm on Instagram, Keely.Donovan. So actually quite a lot of settled weather to come through the weekend. There will be quite a bit of cloud around, but at least there will be largely dry conditions. So I think tomorrow, like Sunday, is best summed up as often cloudy. The best chance of any brightness will be across parts of North Yorkshire through tomorrow afternoon. The cloud could be thick enough for the odd spot or two of light rain or drizzle, but for most places it does look like a dry day after quite a chilly start. High pressure's been out to the southwest, a ridge extending across the UK. There will be some fronts in the forecast over the next few days, but they will be very weak in nature, so only producing 1 or 2 spots of rain, but there will be quite a bit of cloud around. And then it gets rather blustery through Sunday and into Monday, and actually through next week, Tuesday and Wednesday, both look quite windy as well. There's been a lot of cloud around, particularly through this morning. It sunk away southwards. We saw some brighter skies for a time, but out there at the moment there does look to be a fair amount of cloud, particularly across parts of South Yorkshire. That will move away. Clearer skies continuing across the west and the north, and the clear skies will come and go overnight, perhaps a little patchy mist and fog underneath those clearer skies, and it will be quite a chilly night. Temperatures dropping back to around freezing in places. Towards the end of the night, thicker cloud spilling down from the north, and this could produce a little bit of dampness across North Yorkshire by early doors tomorrow. Quick look at those high water times in Bridlington at 9:32 and in Whitby at 8:55. So perhaps some early brightness, but quite quickly that cloud will slip south. As you can see on that weather front, 1 or 2 spots of light rain or drizzle, but for most of us, for most of the day, it will be dry, fairly overcast for a time, but brighter skies spreading down from the north through the course of the afternoon. The breeze will be light from the west, and temperatures about average for the time of year, lifting to around 6 or 7 degrees. So it will brighten up from the north through the course of the afternoon. I think some parts of South Yorkshire may hold on to that cloud that little bit longer. As we move into Sunday, the breeze will freshen, so it does look like a breezier day on Sunday. There'll be some spells of sunshine at times, but I think we'll also see quite a lot of cloud through Sunday as well. It will, though, feel milder through Sunday. The cloud on Sunday could produce the odd spot of light rain and drizzle again. Very windy overnight into Monday, particularly across parts of North Yorkshire. Fine on Monday, windy again for Tuesday and Wednesday.
Thank you very much, Keely. I tell you, the one benefit of having CDs in your car still is the cases make great ice scrapers when the ice is on the car.
I should have known that as a weather person, shouldn't I?
You should have done. So no ice this weekend?
Perhaps a little bit of frost on the windscreens on tomorrow morning, but no, frost is not an issue.
Good, good, good. Thank you very much, Keely. That's it from us. Have a lovely weekend. Goodbye.